You ever been standing in a room full of people but couldn't find the courage to talk to anyone? It's like the saying, alone in a crowded room, and it is not a good feeling. You want to connect with people, you want to be interesting and interested, but your mind? Oof, a big, echoing void. If this sounds familiar, you're not broken. In fact, you're also not alone. Social anxiety and difficulty starting and maintaining conversation is a very common issue. But once you have a good technique to get you started, it'll start flowing from there. Enter the ladder technique. Once you learn the ladder technique, any conversation becomes easy. So what is the ladder technique? Well, whether you're shy, introverted, or maybe just a bit socially rusty, knowing just how to hold a good conversation is a game changer. The thing is, most people never learn how to start and keep a good conversation going, and it has often left us floundering in social settings. We end up believing that some people are just born with charisma, and others aren't. This is actually a huge misconception. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed and improved. Now, the ladder technique gives you a system to do this. Each step of the ladder represents a level of depth to conversation skill and technique, and today we're going to walk through each one. We'll talk about how to start a conversation out of thin air, how to keep it flowing, and how to build a real connection, all without ever running out of things to say. So let's jump in. The first step, observation. This is how you start. No pressure, no small talk, just notice something. Literally anything. You could say something like, "This coffee shop always has the weirdest music on." Or, "Oh, that's a cool bag, where'd you get it?" Or even, "Have you ever eaten at this restaurant near here? I heard it's really good." The best thing about this part of the technique is that it keeps conversation light but personal. You're not asking any deep questions or oversharing, you're just anchoring the conversation in reality. And here's the thing, most people want to be noticed. Secretly, people love talking about themselves. They're just waiting for someone else to make the first move. By making an observation, you take the first step and instantly set the tone. A friendly and interested tone. This is arguably the hardest part, but once this tone is set, things will click into place. Now imagine you're going to a networking event for work. You stand awkwardly next to a guy in a suit. Everyone else is mingling, seeming to have it all figured out. So you break the ice with, "Man, is it just me or is it cold in here?" He laughs and says, "I thought I was the only one freezing." You then have a long and interesting conversation off the back of this one observation. Finding some form of common ground is the way in. One tiny little observation leads to connection. Step 2, opinion. Once you pass the first step, you're in. The second is opinion. This is where you start adding yourself into the conversation, showing your personality. So hear us out. It's not as scary as it sounds. You're just no longer talking about what you see, but what you think. For example, you could say something like, "I'm not usually a fan of jazz, but this playlist kind of slaps. Most superhero movies feel the exact same to me. I think pineapple belongs on pizza." No shame. Now, it depends on the setting and the person on what you choose to say here. And why does this work? Well, because opinions spark reactions. They invite the other person to agree, disagree, or just add their own opinion into the mix. And this moves the conversation from surface-level chatter to something way more dynamic. It's a dialogue now, not a monologue. And even better, sharing a casual opinion shows that you're comfortable enough to be a little vulnerable. And vulnerability sparks connection. No oversharing, just being real. And guess what? That's actually attractive. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology showed that people who share their honest opinions, even the small ones, are perceived as more trustworthy and interesting. So do not be afraid to drop an opinion or two in there as you go. Step 3, experience. This is where the conversation shifts from thoughts to stories. You go from, "I think," to, "That reminds me of the time." Okay, for example, I watched this movie with my parents once. Worst idea ever. This coffee reminds me of the time I accidentally ordered 5 espressos in Italy. I actually tried salsa dancing once. Keyword, tried. Now, experiences are powerful because they humanize you. They give the conversation depth. They make you memorable. And most importantly, they invite the other person to share their stories too. Now, people bond over shared experiences or even similar feelings. Try sharing with a stranger something a little vulnerable about yourself and watch how someone responds. Okay, so why does the ladder technique work? Simple. Most people struggle in conversations because they either stay stuck on the first step, only making observations and keeping the conversation light and meaningless, or they jump straight into oversharing, just getting a little too vulnerable, little too fast. The latter technique gives you a path. It builds trust, engagement, and comfort all one step at a time. So you don't skip ahead. You just take each step as it comes. And the best thing about it, it's not overcomplicated and difficult to remember. Each step prepares the other person and yourself for the next one. It's smooth, it's natural, and most importantly, it's human. Now let's bring it all together with one final step. Step 4, vulnerability. Now this is where true connection lives. It's where you stop playing a character who's having a conversation and you just start being you. You could share something about yourself that makes you, you. Let's take a look at some examples. How about, honestly, I've been feeling a little burnt out lately, trying to slow down. Or, I used to be completely terrified of public speaking, and still kind of am. Or even, making friends as an adult is totally weird. No one tells you how hard it is. Vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Being vulnerable is brave. When you share something genuine, you open the door to others doing the same exact thing. And when they do, that's when you build relationships that matter. Now, this doesn't mean you dump your emotional baggage on someone you just met. Remember, it's a ladder. You only go there once you've climbed the earlier steps. But when the timing is right, and trust me, you will know, vulnerability transforms small talk into real talk. Now, let's get a bit more practical. The ladder technique in action. So let's put it all together here. Imagine you're at a friend's birthday party. You don't know anyone. Well, besides your friend. You walk up to someone at the snack table. Your observation? This dip is dangerously good. Your opinion? I swear I could live off chips and guac. It's way better than an actual meal. Then experience. I once hosted a party where there were 6 types of dip. People loved it. And finally, vulnerability. I always get kind of nervous at events like this, but everyone likes snacks, right? Boom. From zero to meaningful conversation in 2 minutes. You don't need to be funny, charming, or even extroverted. You just need the ladder framework. Now let's wrap it all up with some final points to truly master the ladder technique. Tips to master the ladder. Now before we wrap up, here are 3 tips to help you climb the ladder with confidence. Number 1, listen more than you talk. The ladder works both ways, so just make sure you're not overpowering the conversation. Ask some follow-up questions and be curious. Number 2, practice in low-stakes situations. Talk to the barista that's making your coffee or the shop assistant. The more you practice, the easier it's going to get. Number 3, don't force it. Now, not every conversation will hit every step of the ladder, and that's totally okay. Sometimes all you need is a little bit of step 1 and maybe a little bit of step 2. Observe, and then give your opinion, and then just leave it at that. Conversation doesn't mean having bags of charisma and a magnetic personality. The ladder technique proves that. The ladder helps you start conversations, keep them flowing naturally, and connect with people in authentic and meaningful ways. So the next time you find yourself in an awkward silence, just look around, make an observation, start climbing the steps of the ladder, and watch how quickly conversations become something deeper. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it with a friend who might benefit from the ladder technique. And as always, stay tuned.